Okay, so let me talk you through Freebie Phonics, Freebie Phonics, Freebie Phonics Purple 1. So this is available to members. Go to digital downloads and look in purple as soon as I've added it. And the first 20 to download it on freebiephonics.com, you'll get it for free. So get in there quickly. But let me tell you what you need to do. So you print off all the sheets. So there's a front cover, and then there's your instructions. And the first thing it says is cut up the cards and the sentence strips. Okay, so cards, sound picks, sentence strips, we're going to cut them up. If you're a parent, this is fine, but if you're a teacher, I would strongly suggest that you laminate them first before you cut them up, because then you can use them over and over again with new kids or next year or what have you. Now, of course, if you have got a Speech Sound Monster bank, you have already got all the spelling cards. So all the Speech Sound Monsters with all the different graphemes for each English sound. Here, you've got a little selection, and hopefully it'll show you why those spelling cards are so invaluable. So, for example, you see we've got 3 A's, so like all of the monsters, all of the graphemes have got the Speech Sound Monster on. So that says that is a Z because it's got monster Z on it. That is K, is a picture of the sound K because it's got monster K on it. Whereas that one is S. So for example, here we've got monster R, we've got monster schwa, we've got monster A. And actually, if you have a look at the sentences, like this one, you will see that where it's monstered on one of them, I've actually not put the monster there because I want the children to, when they've got to build theirs, I want them to decide whether they're going to use grass, that monster, or they're going to use A. So when they're doing huff and puff, monster A, they might not want to say Dad cuts the grass. They might say Dad wants to Dad cuts the grass. So these are brilliant because it's not just the grapheme, it actually tells them how to pronounce it. So when they've got to build the sentences on their own, this is for checking. This is the very last sheet that they use. But it means that they're actually going to not just use the right grapheme, but they've got to choose the right letter or string of letters. They've got to actually match it because of the sounds, the phonemes. So this is actually a really good activity for learning support who are often blinded by the letters and don't recognize how often, like duck, the duck has, they might be blinded by that S, and in their phonics they might have looked at that and said S, whereas it's a Z. So when they're building the duck has a red bag, it's going to be great for learning support kids who, just to get them used to that mapping of the phonemes to graphemes. Okay, so let me carry on. Just going to keep cutting up my sentences. And these, the children will love as an activity on their own. Just let them sort it and just watch them sort them all out. Because that on its own, just watching how they sort all of these out is brilliant. If they're SSP kids, they're used to SSP, what they'll do is they'll sort it in our systematic teaching order. So they'll want to start with do, good, etc. But if it's learning support, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. So let me carry on cutting. There is so much you can do with this activity. You can do it on the board if you wanted to. If you're doing it on the floor, you're going to need lots of space. But there are so many parts to this that you could spend, have this over a few days. So what I've put here is that you could put the children in pairs or groups. They match the sentences with the pictures first of all. So first of all, see if they can, like supposing they're in learning support. Often in learning support, they'll be able to read this, but they've got no idea of the segmentation, not really, because reading is a lot easier than spelling. So if it was learning support, you might be saying, right, who can read this? Now, if they can't read it, tell them what it is, because the idea here is we're going to go backwards. So you'll say to them, this sentence is, the duck has a red bag. Okay, so now you know it's the duck has a red bag. Now you're going to code map it. Got their own copy. Of course, they can just do it on the sheet, but let's pretend they haven't. So the duck has a red bag. Okay, so we're going to map it first of all. So where's the right picture? The duck has a red bag. So they could be doing this in groups, and as a big group, they could just be matching every sentence that to do it collaboratively. Okay, so the duck has a red bag. Okay, so it must be that one. Okay, so the duck has a red bag. So now we're going to code map it. Now I would get them to duck hand it first of all. The duck, duck, has, sorry, it's all going out of focus. Red bag. Oh, there we go. Okay, then we've got to code map it. So the duck, has, red, bag. Sorry, I'm not quite underneath there. I'm at bag. So the duck, has, red, bag. The duck has a red bag. Now what you're going to do, or what the children are going to do, is they're going to create that sentence using the right sound picks. So remember what I said before, it's not just a case of matching the letters, they've got to match the right letters with the right sound picks. So for example, you'll know, especially if you're doing learning support, if they do this and they choose the S, so when they're building the word has, and I would get them to do duck hands, lines and numbers, but let's say they've done has and they've done it like this, you'll be saying, okay, so follow the monster sounds to say the word has. Is it has? Listen carefully. The duck has. So what's the sound? Has. Oh, so it's not this one. Even though it's still the S, it's actually a Z. The same as if they were just picking up the wrong A. They were picking up the A that represented an R. Horse. No, and it helps the children who have not had this before to understand that just because there's a letter there, it doesn't mean it's going to be an A or that's going to be a S, etc. It matters. It depends on the word. It depends on the word. So the duck has, that's a Z, the duck has. Okay, so they've read it, code mapped it, created the whole sentence using the right monsters. And when they've done that, they can check it with this sheet. So did they choose the schwa, duck, has, schwa, red, bag. So they're checking. And if we just have a little look through, we've got, let's have a look. Let me just give you a heads up for the ones to watch. Get a pet, Mick naps on the log, nice and straightforward. Dad cuts the grass, so they're picking if it's an R or an A, depending on how they say it. If it's purple code level, we do A, because we don't do R yet, but I've left it then for discovery. Let's have a look at these. So look at this, what's happened here. So I've added in the because I want you can use this activity to talk about the difference between the let's have one, bends. So if you'd use that sentence, you could have used that sentence on the board to talk about, just show them the sentence, show them the sentence not monstered on the board. The trunk bends left, and then you're going to discover what happens. So trunk, see that they can hear that there. So there's two N's there, but this one represents the and that represents the And so when they actually come to use them, they'll see that's the z. So that's a z as well, isn't it? So that one will have the monster. So that's a really nice sentence for children, especially if it's children who are looking at print to speech or who've been taught before using a print to speech approach, who haven't taken in the actual phonemes that those represent. And these are also really good for adults working with children because they often haven't either. So like, for example, what's another one that's in there that you will discover with the children? So like, so that's nice and straightforward, isn't it? That monster. Fred flaps the log. But I wonder if there's another one. Nin has a cup is that off milk? Well, I hope not. It wouldn't taste very good. Or is it of milk? So you see how powerful these monsters are, especially for children who are used to, as I say, speech to print. And that's a lot of the time why they've actually failed and why they're having learning support in the first place. But this is a really nice purple level activity. So when we say purple level, we mean we're focused on those graphemes in the purple code level. The reason that we choose those is because of the skills and concepts. But you could do so much. I could spend a week on this, a week using these resources with a class. I tell you what, guys, I'm not trying to upsell here, but this monster bank and having it all organised in one monster bank with all your spelling choices, just this is the best thing. Even if I hadn't, even if it wasn't mine, this is the best resource for teaching phonics, because you've got every single English speech sound, that's our speech sound monster, every single speech sound, every spelling choice. And not only that, if you get it with the spelling cards, you've got every single spelling choice, all of them. Some of them you've probably not even thought about. And it's all in one place, and it's nice and organised so that you haven't got lots of piece of paper lying around.